From the bumblebee that lands on Zoya's shoulder during the Darkling's funeral, to this season's costume design and how it elevated the visual storytelling, Shadow and Bone Season 2 was brimming with fun little Easter eggs. And these are the ones that you might have missed. Starting with the blink and you'll miss it moment when Kirigan's body is set on fire. After his funeral pyre is lit, Alina, Jinya Safin, and Zoya stands and watches as the flame engulfs what remains of his body. Right then, a seemingly harmless bumblebee starts buzzing around Zoya's shoulder, and she swats it away. Now, it might seem like an insignificant moment at first, but nothing is a coincidence in Shadow and Bone. That wasn't an ordinary bee buzzing around the set on a warm summer day. It was a massive Easter egg slipped in by the writers to signal what's to come in Season 3. Fans of the novels know exactly what's about to happen. But if you've just been following the Netflix series, here's what you need to know. The bumblebee represents Sancta Elizaveta, a Ravkan saint who appears in Leigh Bardugo's The King of Scars duology. In the novel, she's the patron saint of gardeners and got trapped in the Shadowfold with two others, Sancta Juris and Sancta Grigori. So why the bumblebee? Well, being the patron saint of gardeners should be some hint. But the simple explanation is that bees are constantly surrounding her and, as a result, became associated with her. Now, in The King of Scars, she takes possession of Kirigan's body, or whatever remains of it, and tries to resurrect him. But in the series, Kirigan asks Alina to destroy his body completely, making sure nothing remains.
Alina, can you make sure there is nothing left of me? Please.
The thing is, Elizaveta truly believes that he's the true king of Ravka. She eventually tricks Zoya and Nikolai into reviving the Darkling after they return to what remains of the Shadowfold. So, does this mean that the Darkling is coming back? I think the real question is whether the Darkling ever died in the first place. You have to remember that Kirigan is on par with, or maybe even better than, Alina Starkov. His power is what's allowed him to live for centuries. So no, I don't think he's dead. In the novels, he's brought back to life when Elizaveta tricks Nikolai and Zoya into performing a ritual meant to help Nikolai. So if the series is renewed for a third season, the writers might adapt parts of The King of Scars and Rule of Wolves and bring the Darkling back. Since we're already talking about the Darkling, there's a scene in Season 2 that delves into his past. It's when he confronts Alina and talks about the thousands of lifetimes he's lived. And he's had to reinvent his identity after every rebirth. He tells her this to try and prove that they're two very similar people, and goes on to explain how he was once a scared young boy. This is a reference to The Demon in the Wood, a short story by Leigh Bardugo that serves as a prequel to the original series. Demon in the Wood follows the Darkling as a child when he's betrayed and almost killed by a girl he thought was his friend. She planned to use his bones as an amplifier when she realized that he was the famed Darkling, and had the ability to amplify powers. I love references to an author's other works like this. Now, this next Easter egg has heavy implications for Nikolai in the third season. He's speaking with Alina when Zoya and Jinya enter the room. And when he leaves, Zoya says that he was a mess but that she can fix him. It's a subtle hint that eagle-eyed fans will have caught very easily. It points to an event in the King of Scars duology where Zoya helps him with a secret he's been trying desperately to keep. Remember when the group was fighting the shadow monsters in the chapel near the end of the season? Nikolai's shoulder gets pierced by one of the monsters, and on his coronation day, we see that the injury has gotten much worse. It looks like his skin has decayed and there are dark veins expanding outward in a circle. It's clear that things are going to get much worse for him before they get better. What's more, he sees one of the Nichivoya reflected back at him in the mirror. And that's really, really bad news for him. In the King of Scars duology, Zoya promises to help Nikolai find a cure after he almost kills a young child while in his shadow monster form. Remember how I said Elizaveta tricks Zoya and Nikolai when they're performing a ritual meant to help him? This is it. As of this video, Netflix hasn't renewed the series for a third run, but I'm hoping it happens soon because I can't wait to see what happens. Those were more of the story-focused Easter eggs and tidbits meant to enhance the narrative. But then there are those that elevate the visual storytelling elements to another level. Take Kaz Brecker's cane, for example. It makes the character look distinguished and becomes one of the most important pieces of weaponry in his arsenal. He even uses it to protect himself this season. It's a visually distinctive piece with the body of a crow engraved on it. But according to Freddie Carter, the actor playing Kaz, he wanted the cane to be even more accurate to the books. And I think the writers made it happen in the best way possible, by having Kaz give his original cane to Nikolai when he's hurt in battle, and then getting a new one with a silver crow skull on the hilt, making it almost identical to the one he has in the books. But there was a lot more detail that went into it behind the scenes. Teddy and showrunner Eric Heiserer went back and forth on how to incorporate fan art into the cane's design. It's one of the things that Teddy specifically requested for Season 2. Fans loved the fully formed crow design from the first season, but they also made their own versions and posted them on Pinterest. And honestly, I gotta say I love the fan art a bit more. So the final result was the combination of both fan art and the descriptions found in Bardugo's books. I think it was worth it. This season's costume design did something similar too. It used inspiration and elements from the 1800s to amplify the narrative in a really meaningful way. You might have already noticed that the production design was on another level. 1800s New York, Amsterdam, Paris, and London were just some of the cities that they used for inspiration when designing the sets. But the costume department went a step further. They didn't just use a few cities. They incorporated aesthetic elements from 20 different countries to give each character a distinct appearance. Their costumes said a lot about their personalities and their journeys through the Grishaverse. They even provided hints at what was happening in the story. For example, General Kirigan's kefta had touches of gold embroidery on it to symbolize how he was stealing Alina's powers. You don't notice it immediately, I know, but that's what differentiates a great show from a mediocre one. There's also Alina herself, whose wardrobe didn't make her stand out, and that was the entire point. You'll always see her in generic-looking clothes with dull tones, because she doesn't want to draw attention to herself. This is very similar to Inej's costume design too, because she's another character who likes blending in. Inej's costumes, on the other hand, have a smoky, grayish quality to them. And this is in order to hide or camouflage the dozen or so knives she always has hidden within the linings of her dress. In fact, Wendy Partridge, who designed most of the costumes in Season 2, said that you should focus on how Alina and Mal dress throughout. Their costumes hint at how their relationship evolves throughout the season.
And Lee has written in and brought to so much texture about the clothing, particularly the keftas in her books, that it was a wonderful jumping off point and really exciting to be involved in this amazing world that she created in her brain.
And honestly, aren't visual clues like that the best kind of Easter eggs? Because you only find out about them if someone tells you or if you pay enough attention on your second watch. And that's all I have today on the best Easter eggs and little details you missed in your Season 2 binge.